Hey there. So it is quarter after 1 Central Time, and I have been playing around with the 1950 U.S. Census search available through the National Archives website for the last 2 hours or so, trying to figure out the best way to search and find what I'm looking for. So I've done that, and I want to share a few of those searches with you to give you an idea of how you can also use these tips to find the people you're looking for. So if you don't know me, I'm Julie Cahill-Tarr, and I am with Genealogy in Action. And I simplify advanced genealogy research concepts so you can chase down your elusive ancestors quickly and confidently. So if you're a dedicated genealogist looking to uplevel your research skills, you're in the right place. So again, in this video, I'm going to just walk you through 2 different searches. One is actually going to be a search. The other is going to be using strictly the enumeration district that I already had. And then you'll be off to search on your own. So let me share my screen. All righty. So this is the official 1950 census website brought to us by the National Archives, or NARA, or NARA, if you prefer to pronounce it that way. It is at 1950census.archives.gov. And just so you know, there is a tab here for resources. So if you are looking for the form, the questions asked, or the instructions for the enumerators, which is very helpful actually, enumeration district maps and other things, this would be the place to come. Let me go back to the home page here, and we are going to begin our search. Oh, there's also a resources button here. All right, so we come to this screen, and there are some tips here. Now, the first person I tried to search for was my dad, because my mom's maiden name is extremely common. My dad's not so much. It is common, but not too bad. So I picked the state. I picked the city of Chicago. And you'll notice over here, it starts changing things. So it's giving me a listing of all the enumeration districts, starting with 103.1, 2, 3, etc. And it tells you the state, the county, the city, and the number of pages that are in this enumeration district. It also gives the description. So I then put in, I tried to do just a surname search, but it gave me too many results. So I tried doing his full name, and it still came up with 10,000 results, which is crazy until I figured out why. So this first one, it looks like it's doing almost like a Soundex type of search where, you know, it's similar in spelling or pronunciation. So that one didn't surprise me, but it's not him. And I kept going through, and I started seeing, you know, things that just said the surname or just the surname alone. And sometimes I would see, go a little further, like there was a Cahill on this page, but there was also a Joseph Baselli on the page. I'm not looking for that. So it was just kind of like, okay, then I started getting into, I was finding, you know, the names, but then I was finding this, another, you know, maybe sounds like, looks like kind of thing. And this is actually the first name of a female. So it wasn't really giving me anything really good that I wanted to go through like a gazillion pages of matches. So what I did, instead of going straight to the enumeration district and going page by page, what I did is I actually put the enumeration district in. So it was 103, 2563. And when I did that, see, now my criteria has all of these things. It found just, I believe, I found one, and then I guess it found some other ones too. But again, you'll see like a Joseph and a Adder Call and a Joseph, but no Cahill. And it's very strange. I don't particularly like the search. It's not as flexible as, say, Family Search or Ancestry or MyHeritage or any of those. So unfortunately, that's kind of a bummer. And this is part of the reason why I wanted to have all of the enumeration districts prepped, because I didn't know if I was going to need them. I didn't know if I was going to be able to search. I didn't know how the handwriting recognition was going to work. And I will be honest, the handwriting recognition is actually pretty good. I have been through a bunch of pages and names indexed, and I'm actually quite impressed with it. Unfortunately, because the search isn't as powerful, it makes it a little more difficult. So like I said, I had to put that in, or else I was going to be going through 10,000 listings, and that's just too much. So I did put that in, but I didn't have to go straight to it and go through the enumeration district page by page, which I think this was a big one. So I'm glad I didn't have to do that. But this is indeed my dad. And what's cool is that he is, it's right here. He's 5 years old. And guess what? He's on the supplemental line. Woohoo! And as you'll see, when I go to my mom, my grandfather is also on a supplemental line. So I'm 2 for 2. So what I learned on that, so he was line 12. He was only 5 years old, but was he living in the same house a year ago? Yes, he was, which I know he was because he was living there when a few years earlier anyway. So I that made sense to me. It does give the place of birth of US for his mother and his father. And what's interesting here is that he was actually in kindergarten, and he finished this grade, and he had attended school since February 1st. So that's interesting. I would not have probably known that any other way. And then the rest of these questions, unfortunately, were for people who are 14 years of age or over. So his are all, of course, blank. So kind of wasted on that. But I did learn that he was in kindergarten. So that's a data point that I can certainly add for him. So that's kind of cool. Other thing to note here is this was the actual address I was looking for, was 2909 West Wilcox Street. And I can tell that this is his father and his mother. These are my grandparents. These are my great grandparents. They're Joan's parents, John and Emma McMahon. And then I noticed too that right underneath, even though this is supposed to be an M instead of an N, this is actually Florence, my great aunt, so Joan's sister, and her first husband, Robert. And it doesn't surprise me that they're all living at the same address. It looks like there's a first, second, and second listed. I will have to go back to the enumeration instructions to remind myself what exactly that meant. But it was obviously like maybe a duplex or a multifamily home. And what's interesting here also is that you'll notice, let me zoom in a little bit more here. You can see here that initially it said son-in-law, daughter, grandson, and then it said son-in-law, daughter, and that is the relationship to John, this head of household. But they were their own individual households. So they got crossed out, and my grandfather became the head, Joan became the wife, my dad became the son, and then same here, Robert became the head and Florence became the wife. So if I didn't already know these relationships, this would have been a nice find, a happy mistake, but I already knew that. So, and I think that was all I was going to share here. I've got other videos that go over the different questions and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to spend time on that here. This is really more just trying to show you some ways to search and find what you're looking for. So, all right, I am going to switch gears. I am going to clear this search And okay, so the next one I want to look at is my mom. And because it is a common name, the surname is Miller, and I would have to actually search an entire county because the town is not listed here, unfortunately. So I'd have to search the entire county. That's a lot of people. And so I decided that I was just going to put in the enumeration district. So I'm going to clear all that out. I'm going to put in the enumeration district, which is 22-1, I think. Yes. And you'll notice over here, there are 41 enumeration districts, and they are in alphabetical order by state. So I can scroll down to Illinois. And again, I get that the district, the state, the county, and the number of pages along with the enumeration district description. What I want to show you is that you can put in the state, and then you'll just get the one, more than likely the one. So I am going to go ahead and click on this, and it brings me to the entire thing. And this was what, 41 pages. Now, when I started going through, I could see where this was. So it started on York, and then I saw Addison, and I thought, you know what, I bet you, because as I kept going, I kept seeing Addison, and that's like right west of York. So I got to thinking, okay, I kind of remember that the enumeration instructions said something about how they should actually make their circuit around the enumeration district. And I thought, you know what, I bet you this isn't going to be towards the beginning. What I'm looking for, the street I'm looking for, is not going to be towards the beginning. So I kind of jumped to just a random page. And I could see Milton, which is no longer Milton. If you saw my other video, you would recall that it's actually Armitage now. But I see Maple and more Maple. Let's see, and then Elm. And so I knew I was going in the right direction, because what's happening is it's going from York was the furthest north, not the furthest north, I'm sorry, the furthest east. I know my directions. And then Addison, and then I can't remember, there's a street in between there, and then there's Maple, Elm, Myrtle, Walnut, and then Oak. So I kind of just jumped around until I started getting closer to where I wanted to be. So there's Elm again. So I kind of just did like two at a time. And Evergreen, oh, I forgot Evergreen. Anyway, I was forgetting something. It's been a long time since I've lived there. Fremont, okay, so that's a cross street. Maple again, that's odd. Larch, so I'm getting closer. Keep bouncing around. Fremont, or a crossroad. Elm. Brantley is our other crossroad. So we're getting there. Myrtle, okay, like one more. And then here's Walnut. So this is actually the street that backs Oak Street. And what was cool is that I found 372, which is the house directly behind our house. I call it our house. I lived there at one point. My grandfather actually built the house, so it's been in our family until my mom moved in the late 90s. But what was really cool here is that I saw the Lundy family. And I actually knew I probably knew Norman, although I'm not sure. I was probably very little, but I knew his wife, and I never knew her real name. She was always Mike. I do not know why. This doesn't answer that question either, because it looks like her name was Eleanor, and I don't know if this is an R or a C or it is certainly not an M. So I'm not really sure where that nickname came from, but I just thought that was really interesting that they were there, and now I kind of know what her given name was. So that was fun. And I'm going to jump to this page, and I believe, yep, this is it. So we're now on North Oak, and I want 375. And here is my grandfather, my grandmother, my uncle, and my mom. And then kind of a bummer was nobody was at home for 375. And you'll notice here that if you watched my previous videos, I did mention that there were the not at home section of the census that starts at page 71, I believe. And what's cool here, that was not part of the 1940 census, but here it actually says see sheet 75, lines 17 through 19. So you don't even have to like go searching through every single one. They're all right. It tells you right here where to go. And I'm like, that is so cool. And it was interesting to me because I wanted to know, I was pretty sure that the neighbors that I knew were the original neighbors back when that house was built, which was just before ours. So I was pretty sure, but I did indeed prove that by going and looking at that. And I saw the Collenbergs, who I've known since I was a kid, and saw the parents and then the daughter, who was a really good friend of my mom. They grew up next door to each other. They were like BFFs. So it was just really cool to see that. And I don't recognize some of these other names, so it might be that some of the other neighbors that we were really close with didn't come into the neighborhood until after 1950. But our house was built in 48, 49. So this was a relatively newer area of this neighborhood. So the only other thing I want to show you, oh yes, and I did see my grandfather was on a supplemental line. And so there's some information down here. And it does say here, did they live in the same house a year ago? No, which makes sense because they were active, I think it was 1949, they were building it during the summer. So that would make sense that they weren't actually living in the house while they were building it. And then it's got some of this, the highest education. So it looks like, let's see, S11. So senior high, S11. And he completed it. And then there's this information that's related to employment and things of that nature that I will study further when I have a moment. And then also we have military service and no. He was never in the military. So that was kind of cool. I mean, I already knew most of this stuff, but it's just kind of cool to see. And then real quick, right here, there's this button that you can click, and you can, if you need to rotate it for whatever reason, sometimes if you have to go through each of these pages, page by page, you might want to rotate it so that you're actually looking at these street names the right way as you're going through. And it does actually keep them, so you can keep doing that. So that's kind of helpful. Wish I kept it zoomed in. Unfortunately, it does not. I'm going to rotate that back to the way that it was. And you can flip it if you would need to for some strange reason. You can adjust the brightness, the contrast. You can invert the color so we can make it white on black. Sometimes that's easier for people to read. You can revert the image back to the way it was if you made a bunch of changes. And then up here under this little like dot menu, if you click on that, this is where you can download the image. So I'm going to click on that, and you get I'm on page 30, which I don't really want, but you can choose the size. And if you're a genealogist, you're going to want to pick this biggest size. You want the best quality image. So I would just go with this top one. When you click on it, it may automatically download and save to your downloads folder. I personally like to have the choice of where it goes, so I can save it wherever I want it to save. But I can also open it, and you get this nice, beautiful image that you can, zoom in on, and it's a better view. And especially if you're having trouble with images loading, there have been a couple that I've had problems with them loading because it's like everybody's on right now trying to find their people. And unfortunately, I knew that I was on the right page because I could see enough of it to know it was my family. And so I was able to download it and actually see that, yes, indeed it was. But that's just my tip for you is to download that big image, the biggest one you can, that top one, and be sure to download it and save it. And just a quick reminder that I know that Ancestry and Family Search are going to start probably loading images to their websites as soon as they possibly can. So once that is happening, I will do some videos on how to use those. Unfortunately, from what I understand, they will not be indexed right away. Ancestry is going to be using their own handwriting recognition software. And if it's anything like what NARA has used, it's not the same thing, but if it's anything like it, I think it'll be pretty decent, because this was actually quite impressive. I was really impressed with this. Unfortunately, their search capabilities are just not very good here. But once the index is up and running on the other sites, the search is going to be extremely powerful and make it a lot easier. But if you did watch my other videos and you prepped, you have those enumeration districts. So you saw that I actually needed both of them, even though that search would have picked up my dad. I just would have had to have waited through like 10,000 entries, and that's just ridiculous. And once I put in that enumeration district, it popped that one right up to the top, and then the rest of them were just, who knows what they were. But I hope that this video helped a little bit. Let me stop sharing and come back on camera for you. So if you haven't already, head to the website and check it out. Look for yourself, your parents, whoever was maybe the first time they're in the 1950 census. The 1950 census is the first time they appeared. There we go. So it's your turn to go forth and search. That's your action for this. I hope that you enjoyed this video and that you found it helpful and that you're kind of ready to jump in there and try to find the people that you want to find. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe using the button below and click the little bell so you'll be notified when new videos are released. And again, I will be doing videos as other websites start releasing images and then indexes. So be on the lookout for those. And I'm going to sign off for now. I'll see you next time.